Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're tackling the ultimate subject, the one we spend pretty much our whole lives trying to ignore.
Death.
Exactly. We're doing a deep dive into death, but not in the usual way, not as the biological opposite of life.
Right, we're looking at it as a part of life.
Yeah.
A profound, spiritually transformative moment, that is, if you know how to prepare for it.
And our main source for this is, well, it's an incredible framework from Dzongsar Jamyang Khyentse's guide.
That's right. It's a really dense but illuminating, non-traditional guide to dying.
So our mission today is to explore the Buddhist perspective, which treats death not as this, terrible tragedy, but as a spiritual journey.
And here's the key takeaway right up front.
Yeah.
The outcome of that journey, where your consciousness goes next, it depends entirely on your karma.
On the accumulated causes and conditions from your life.
Precisely. Now, the experiences in what are called the bardos, the intermediate states, they're different for everyone. But having a rough map of the process is considered absolutely vital.
Knowing the map helps you face it calmly.
It gives you equanimity.
And it's just shocking how hard we work to ignore this. I mean, you think of the story of Prince Siddhartha before he was the Buddha.
Yeah, he lived this perfectly sheltered life.
Yeah.
Young, handsome, everything was beautiful. And then he goes outside the palace walls and sees a dead body for the first time.
Total shock. He turns to his attendant and asks, "Will what happened to that man happen to me? Will I die too?"
And Chana, the attendant, has to tell him, "Yes, Your Majesty, everyone dies." It's this universal truth he'd been completely shielded from.
It sounds almost silly, right? A grown man not knowing this. But it shows how deep that delusion can run.
Oh, absolutely. And how many of us, with our jobs and our families and our Netflix queues, actually stop and genuinely contemplate that question?
Very few.
The sources say even the gods are too busy. They're focused on their, clean saucers and perfect clouds. Contemplating death is just an unwanted distraction for them.
So to conquer the fear of death, we have to start with life. We have to tackle this radical idea that life itself is fundamentally an illusion.
That's it, exactly. That paralyzing fear we have is rooted in something called fixation.
Fixation, so clinging to our beliefs about who we are, what the world is.
Yes, all of it conditioned by our culture, our environment. But that fear starts to dissolve the moment you sincerely accept that the world, samsara, is basically a learned, fabricated dream.
And samsara isn't just an illusion, it's the whole cycle of suffering, right? Driven by ignorance and craving, we mistake the dream for reality, and so we suffer.
Which brings us to Zhuangzi, the Chinese philosopher. He dreamed he was a butterfly.
Right.
And when he woke up, he genuinely asked, was I Zhu dreaming I was a butterfly, or is the butterfly now dreaming it is Zhu?
And that's not just a cute story. The point is, you can't logically prove that you're alive right now in a way that's separate from a dream.
Everything is imputed. Your name, your body, your job, it's all guesswork. Labeling. Layers upon layers of assumption.
So if you can see that life and death are equally dreamlike, the fear starts to lose its grip.
Losing your life isn't the ultimate obliteration of reality if reality itself was never solid to begin with.
Okay, but how do we get there? This can't just be an intellectual exercise. Let's give our listeners some practical mental exercises from the source material, things you can try right now.
Okay, the first one is simple. Emulate Zhuangzi. Look at something near you, a coffee cup, whatever, and ask, is this cup dreaming me? Am I its dream?
Just to shift that subject-object relationship.
Exactly. The second one, pinch yourself.
Yeah.
The classic test. But don't just feel the pain. Ask, who is pinching? Who is feeling the pinch? Where is that pain really?
And the third one, which I think is maybe the most powerful.
Watching your thoughts.
He's watching them.
Right now you're thinking about something, maybe car keys, maybe what you need from the store. Just know that you're having that thought.
Don't grab onto it, don't push it away. And really try not to let it lead to the next thought.
Just watch it arrive, hang there for a second, and then dissolve. What you realize is that your inner world is mostly projection and assumption. It proves the dreamlike quality of your own mind.
And realizing your internal reality is so flimsy, that has to change your attitude toward your external life.
It has to. To reduce the terror of death, you have to minimize attachment now.
But how do you do that without becoming, cold and distant? If I realize my family is a projection, do I just stop loving them?
That's a great question. The sources aren't talking about emotional withdrawal. We're talking about non-clinging. The pain at death, the vast majority of it comes from clinging.
Clinging to life, to people, to unfinished business.
Yes. The issue isn't love or wealth. It's the expectation that they are permanent or that you're entitled to them. If you cling, the loss is devastating.
But if you see them as precious, temporary gifts of the dream,
Then the loss is sad, but it won't cripple you spiritually. The sources also say to minimize selfishness. If your whole life is about getting admiration, the total solitude of death is going to be unbearable.
which brings us to the supreme preparation, the big one, bodhicitta.
Yeah, thinking big.
The Buddha taught that the supreme mindfulness is just remembering that life is impermanent and death is inevitable.
But the Mahayana view is even more radical. For them, birth is the bigger hurdle to overcome, not death.
Wait, why mourn birth? That feels so counterintuitive.
Because being born into samsara means you're locked in. You're on the Ferris wheel of suffering. You're going to have to die and be reborn all over again.
So birth is just the ticket to the next painful death.
Until you achieve awakening, yes. We should mourn our birth just as much.
So the best preparation is to just get off the ride entirely. And you do that with the bodhisattva vow.
With bodhicitta, it's this conscious, overwhelming vow to bring all sentient beings to enlightenment, not just you, everyone.
The bodhisattva willingly vows to be reborn billions of times to help others.
Right. And when your purpose is that vast, your own death becomes, well, a minor setback.
A manageable inconvenience and a much, much bigger project.
It totally redefines self-importance. And this huge vision is often tied to the path of aspiration, to Buddha Amitabha and the Pure Land, Sukhavati.
It's about generating this overwhelming devotion, this yearning.
It's redirecting the force of desire. The anecdote about the carpenter is the perfect illustration of this.
Tell us that story again.
Okay, so there's this old carpenter, very worldly, very attached to his craft, his blueprints, making money. He's on his deathbed, literally clutching his plans.
And his daughter knows what he's like.
She leans in and says, "Father, you've been summoned to Sukhavati. Lord Amitabha needs you to build him a palace."
And the old man, who is just annoyed about feeling sick, immediately perks up.
He starts listing the tools he'll need, planning the foundation. And in that moment, filled with this intense longing for his new commission, he dies.
And is instantly reborn in Sukhavati.
Instantly. His consciousness was so full of that one powerful, wholesome thought, there was zero room left for fear or clinging. It proves that powerful aspiration can override everything else at the moment of death.
So now let's get to that moment, the dissolution, which the texts call a supreme moment of opportunity.
It's fascinating. The process of dying forces the mind to separate from the body. And this leads to the dissolution of the 5 subtle elements: earth, water, fire, air, and space.
And for a split second, everyone, no matter who you are, experiences the nakedness of their Buddha nature.
This pure ground of liberation state. For a moment, it's stripped of all the filters.
Because when we're alive, everything is filtered by our senses, our education, our culture. You see 2 black semicircles on a wall, your mind instantly labels it cocoa.
Right. But at death, those physical senses are gone. The mind is raw, unfiltered, and maybe 100 times more aware.
So everything is strange, maybe terrifying.
But that nakedness is exactly why it's such a precious opportunity, especially if you prepared for it.
Okay, so let's slow down and go through the signs of the bardo of dying. The sources say it's vital for the dying person to remember these stages.
It's all about remaining calm by recognizing the process.
So, stage 1, the air element dissolves and the earth element falls apart. What does that actually feel like?
You feel like your body is impossibly heavy. Like you can't lift your head. You feel suffocated. And you might see a shimmering, mirage-like light.
Okay. Then the water element dissolves into fire.
You feel intensely dry. Your tongue might roll up. You lose control of all your bodily fluids.
And after that, the fire element dissolves into air.
That's when you start shivering, feeling intensely cold. You might see a distant glow, like flickering butter lamps.
Then breathing gets harder, the air element dissolves into consciousness, and you feel the weight of a mountain on your chest.
That intense pressure is the body literally disintegrating. And then comes the final terror.
Everything goes black.
Your outer senses dissolve completely, and you have the sensation of falling from a great height. That's it. That's the mind finally separating from the body.
And once it's separated, all the terrifying things you experience in the bardos are projections. This is where we have to talk about the alaya.
Yes, the alaya, the storehouse consciousness. It's like a cosmic hard drive that stored every single karmic imprint from every thought and action you've ever had.
And in the bardo, when the mind is raw and unfiltered, the alaya just starts dumping all those files.
And those files create the projections. The 6 realms, hell, hungry ghost, human, God. They aren't physical places you go. They are psychological states you project.
Based on your habits.
Your dominant motivation in life creates the realm. If your life was driven by anger, you project hell realms. Greed and miserliness, you project the hungry ghost realm.
And pride, believing your view is the most objective one.
You project the God realm. It's a temporary pleasure that ends, and the fall is much worse.
So there's no external judge.
None. The only judge is your own mind. Your guilty conscience makes sure you remember everything harmful you did, and that causes the suffering. Heaven and hell are states of mind.
Okay, let's get really practical then. If you are with someone who is dying, what is the crucial guidance you should give them?
First and foremost, your calm presence and selfless motivation are what matter most. Be gentle, but be honest. Remind them that everyone must die, and their only job now is to focus on a wholesome thought.
But right at the moment of death, the instructions need to change. The texts say you have to be pushy.
You do, because the mind is so receptive.
So for someone who's maybe not a Buddhist, how do you phrase that instruction? Your mind is independent, naked, clear, and present. This is the Buddha.
That's a key question. You don't have to use the word Buddha. You emphasize the nakedness and the clarity. You repeat, over and over, using their name, the self you always thought you were is dissolving. Your mind is independent now. It's clear and present, free of the body.
You stress that this pure awareness is the only thing left.
Exactly.
And one of the most heroic things you can do for yourself or for them is Tomblin, taking and sending.
It completely reverses selfish logic. On the in-breath, you visualize taking in all the suffering of all beings, the heat, the darkness. On the out-breath, you send out all your happiness, coolness, light, and benefit.
Using pain as the fuel for compassion.
Exactly. It's an act of utter selflessness.
Okay, after death. Care for the corpse is very specific.
Very. The advice is to leave the body completely untouched for as long as you can. Ideally, 3 days. And you must not touch the lower half of the body.
Because consciousness is supposed to exit through the crown of the head.
Right. So relatives should stay near the head, not the feet, to encourage that upward movement.
And then for the next 49 days, while the consciousness is in the bardo, what can the living do to help?
A few key things. First, the consciousness can still hear, and it's desperate for guidance. So you continue reading the bardo instructions to the deceased by name.
Second, the Sur offering.
Burn a little vegetarian food. Even a biscuit is fine. Visualize the smoke becoming an infinite offering of everything the bardo being could possibly need or want.
Third is life release.
This is huge. Accumulating what's called supreme stained merit. You rescue animals destined for certain death fish from a market, turkeys before Thanksgiving, and you release them, dedicating the merit to the deceased.
And finally, dedicating their belongings.
Yes, dedicate everything, from a house down to a needle and thread to the Dharma or to charity. But first, you must mentally inform the corpse of what you're doing so they can participate in that act of generosity.
So this whole deep dive really shows that preparing for death isn't about planning a funeral.
Not at all.
It's about learning that life itself is an illusion, and death is this unique, powerful moment when the mind becomes completely naked. The key is non-clinging and embracing a bigger purpose, like bodhicitta.
And that brings us right back to the Alaya, that storehouse consciousness.
Right.
Buddhists believe that concepts like continuity and time are ultimately illogical. But they are extremely powerful delusions that shape our experience.
And the you that continues after death is this concept of alaya, the hard drive carrying all your karma forward, driving your projections in the bardo.
So if your consciousness is just an imputed illusion, and everything you hold dear is part of a dream you are about to wake up from,
What karmic debt is your alaya carrying forward right now?
what are you waiting to learn? Or what act of immense compassion are you waiting to perform before your awareness is stripped completely bare?
That is the question we'll leave you with today.
This has been The Deep Dive.
Thank you for joining us.